Hello everyone, this is Betsy from Ideas Times 2, and today I have a demonstration. I've got 3 little projects, little DIY doodads that you can use in your junk journals that'll kind of take your junk journals to the next level, give you a lot of finer details, which sets our journals apart. So lots of fun on these. First of all, I'll be making a whale tail tab by hand without the punch, and aged tape and rusted metal. So those 3 things, I'm going to go over how to do all of those things, and it's going to be lots of fun. So please join me for that. All right, so the first thing is the whale tail tab. So you guys know probably what a whale tail tab is. It goes onto a page like this, where the rounded part goes on the page and then the tab sticks out over the edge. And these things are super popular, and there used to be a punch for them, but the punch is now out of circulation and it's very, very expensive. So a lot of us just can't afford that. Although on one of my Facebook groups, there was a lady, she said, I got all these Stampin' Up! Supplies and bought it as a group, and lo and behold, I looked in there and there was a whale tail punch, whale tail tab punch, and I was like, and I guess she got it for pretty cheap. I'm like, wow, that's amazing. Does that ever happen to you? That doesn't ever happen to me. So anyway, these whale tail tabs are super cool. So the way you can use it, also I did buy a die. They do make dies for the whale tail tabs, and I did just get mine yesterday. But not everybody has a die cutting machine or the real estate to keep one. So this is just a fun way to DIY it with mostly supplies that you probably already have. So I use a circle punch. This is a 1 3/4 inch circle punch. You could certainly do it bigger or smaller depending on what what your needs are. And then you'll need another punch to make it super easy. You could use scissors and do it too, but to make it super easy, another punch will be great. One with a straight edge and then an edge that goes off to the right. Okay, so this punch will work for that, and this punch will work for that too, although I'm struggling with it a little bit. It wasn't punching as quickly as I wanted, so I'm hoping I can get that demo done without any trouble on that. But so these 2 punches work great for this. But like I said, you could also totally just use scissors. So what you do is you fold your circle in half, and then you bring over one of your punches that has those things that we mentioned. After you do 1 or 2 and you figure out, where it is that you like it, you can put markings on here. So hold this upside down and just take a fine line Sharpie marker or something, fingernail polish, something, and then you can line this up. So draw a line here where your top will come, draw a line right there where the bottom of your half circle here will go. So what you do with the folded edge down, you're going to put this in, line it up with your markings, and then punch. Then flip it over and do the same thing. And then you're left, you're left with a shape like this, which is actually kind of cute too, isn't it? To make it an official whale tail, because these, let's see, like this one is a little bit more roundy, right? So official whale tail here. So then you're going to snip that sharp point there, going straight up and down, snip that off, going straight up and down. And then we also have to take care of this. If you open this up, it's a straight tab like this, which is, there's nothing wrong with that. But the whale tail actually has a bit of a curve right here at the fold. So this one looks more like a parentheses mark, and this one is just straight. Okay, so to get this look, we're going to take a scissors and we're just going to round this corner here, flip it over, and round the other one, and try to keep them looking the same. This one I got a little carried away with, I can already tell, but you get the idea. I tried to bring my little, you know, my little corner rounder up in there, but this part sticks out too far and it just wasn't working. So, and there's your whale tail tab. So this, I wanted to show you the difference between these, well, not that one, maybe these two. So this one has a longer sort of straight part here, straight edge, and then it goes into the whale tail. This one has a shorter straight edge, and that goes into the whale tail like that. So the shorter one is this punch, and the longer one was this punch. And I actually prefer the longer straight edge there. So I am going to, actually, I probably don't need to demonstrate this. This is the same thing. You're gonna just use the straight edge. Don't use this bottom part, but just use the straight edge. And you're gonna stick your, let's see. Let me get another circle going here, because not everybody's gonna have one of these, right? So let me show you on one more punch to see if this will help you. Okay, so this is a regular tab punch. I'm just going to use the straight edge right there and the part that goes off to the right. Okay, so just the straight edge. And this one almost doesn't need to be marked because you can only go in so far. And like I said, I was having a little trouble with this. Okay. All right, so that's not very pronounced. Okay, so we're going to round this and round this. Well, you know, I thought this one gave me more depth here, but I think it's actually this one that gives me more depth, which makes sense because this straight edge is very long. So this one will give you a longer tab portion that sticks out over the edge of the page. This one will give you a shorter one, but it still works. So there's that. That is fun with punches. And they really do not take very long to make, and I just got carried away and just did a bunch, so lots of fun on that. The second thing we're going to talk about is aged tape. So I'm just going to go ahead and start demonstrating. I'll just quickly show you what I'm talking about. So here's some tapes, and they are discolored on purpose. So I just want to show you what I'm doing. You can use Frosty. What do they call it? I don't know. It says matte finish magic tape. So you can use the Frosty kind of tape, or you can use the clear cellophane tape. Either way, it doesn't matter. I prefer the Frosty, but I think most people use the most transparent one, which is, you know, whatever way you want to do it is fine. Oh, that was the end of my tape. So what you're going to do is take a piece of tape and put it on acetate. You could put it on wax paper, you could put it on the waxy side of parchment paper or freezer paper. Not parchment paper, it depends on, I mean, parchment paper comes in many forms, but there is probably a smooth side to some parchment papers, but I guess I was thinking of freezer paper. So freezer paper, wax paper, something where you can peel this off. But if you use those papers, you have to make sure that you use your tape in a reasonable amount of time, otherwise it will stick eventually. What I prefer to use is like acetate. Packaging is great. Anything that's very slick that will hold your tape, like for example, let's see, those are actually pieces of acetate. That's not helping me here. For example, I cut this from some packaging. So you could put a piece of tape on this. That's kind of the best way, and it's portable and you can tuck it away and keep it for later and all those things. So I think that's the best way personally. So I'm going to put this transparent tape up here, and I'm going to put several other pieces on as long as we're going for it here. A couple of other things we're going to do too. Okay, so basically what it is, to make it colored, you need alcohol ink. So we're going to put some alcohol ink. I just ordered some more colors, but I don't have too many colors. But my preferred ones have been, not that one, butterscotch, and these are from Ranger, butterscotch and espresso. So they have to be alcohol inks. Alcohol inks will cling to slick surfaces. The other kinds of inks, like distress inks, those will not work. So what you're doing is just going to dab some color. I'm just going to do, let's see, 1 or 2, I guess, here. Dab on some color. It's going to spread. It might even start drying. It's going to dry fast. I'm going to put alcohol ink, espresso, and sort of mix these colors. You can do this a couple different ways. So I have a nasty old cotton ball I've been using here. I'm just going to dab. Okay, so you can dab like that. Love that, actually. Or you can swipe it and make it a more uniform color. If you don't like it, you can maybe add some more, you know, it's not written in stone yet. And actually, even after it dries, it's not written in stone. You can change it. So you can change it up a little bit. Okay, like that. That's really all there is to it. There are a couple of other sort of techniques. So I basically made all of these the same way. I wanted to show you, this is the transparent tape. You can see how shiny it is. These are the frosted tapes. They're not very shiny, but I used all the same method. These are more streaked, where I just swiped it. These are more dabbing, so you can see splotches of color on those. And then this one is reddish, because I also bought, to do this demonstration, I thought, well, you know, I kind of wanted a different brown, and I picked this, and it's more of a mahogany type brown. It's called burnt sienna, but I didn't really feel like it was burnt sienna. But so anyway, there's that. Any of the browns, any look that you want. And these are just some samples of how I use the aged tape here. And we're going to talk about this in a minute. Okay, so a couple of other methods. So you can see these maybe have a little bit more grayish and dark black sort of splotches in them. So I'm going to show you how I do that. So this is permanent ink. It's not anything that will run with anything water-based. So it's a permanent ink, and sometimes, depending on, I'll just put some permanent ink on my tape and then just go in with the alcohol inks. It gives it a little look. It gives it sort of a grainy look. I think that's pretty appropriate way to describe it. I'm looking for my, here it is, looking for my brown. Where'd it go? And now it will take a long time for that to dry, that memento ink or the permanent ink. And you can leave it as black, having little black splotches in it, which I really like. Or you can just start dabbing, and that's where you're gonna sort of get that grainy look. Okay. So there we go, I'm gonna leave that. And then the other one, this one here, So I had to stop the camera, but so these are a special technique, so let me just show you what that is. I went ahead and made another strip here. I made it fairly dark so you could see what I'm talking about. So I have in this bottle, there was some other materials in here, so it's kind of orangey colored, but this is just alcohol. So alcohol will make the alcohol inks move, and so this is just straight up alcohol. I'm going to hold this spray bottle pretty far above the tape and then spray down on it, and all those little droplets will cause the tape to look like it's bubbled up or water spotted or something like that. So I sprayed it, and can you see those bubbles forming there? Get that up to the camera, and that looks really cool too. So that's a special, kind of a special, or a, not special, but like a different type look, if you would want that. Okay, so those are the basic ones. Also, I wanted to mention, if you don't have alcohol inks, you can still do the, let me tape this one down. So you can see I have scribbles under there, so we can see. Oops, I'm dropping a few things here. I got a new glue bottle, and the opening is a little big, but all right, so these are not tape. This is some organic wax paper. You can see how transparent it is by me just holding it up like that. So I just cut this in strips. I cut it down into a usable size, and then I cut it into strips, and so that's what these are. These need to be glued. Obviously, tape does not need to be glued. If you put it on a sticky surface to hold it until you're ready, or I mean, if you put it on a slick surface to hold it until you're ready, then that tape should be good for taping. But these obviously don't have tape on them, so I had to use some wet glue. I tried glue stick, and that didn't work. So this is just the paper. This is just with a tiny bit of alcohol ink, and this is with a little bit more alcohol ink, but you can still see they're transparent. And this is some scrapbook paper. You can see that you can still see the paper pattern underneath. So that's a cool way if you have some kind of a, I guess you could actually use sewing pattern paper, a tissue paper. Sometimes we get packaging like the crumpled up paper inside. Sometimes that will work depending on how thick it is, of course. But also if you could find this, now I'm not sure if it's parchment type paper or if it's wax paper. Cindy, I got it with Cindy. So Cindy, if you could let us know in the comments, if you still have the box, let us know what that is so that we can pass that along. So there's that. Also, I was thinking when I was making these, I'm like, why stop at aged tape? Why not make fun tape? So you can see I scribbled underneath here again, so you can see how transparent the tapes still are. But how fun are these? Like, you could do, make this into sort of a washi tape or just decorative tape. What if you had a mermaid journal, under the sea journal, poppy journal, pansy journal, sunflower journal, fall, you know, spring floral? How fun would something like these be? You know, make it in pinks, maybe just light pink, or anyway, have fun with it and make some cool tapes. I think that is super fun. Okay, I'm back with the next part, which is rusting metals. So there is a super easy way, slick and easy, that just takes a few minutes, and I'm going to show you that first, and then we'll get on with the actual chemical process of rusting metal. So here's a little batch I did. These were the bright silver, like these clips here. Okay, so those were bright silver, shiny silver. The pins were gold. Okay, and the charms were like a brushed silver. So this is how they turned out. I like them. I think it turned out great. And if you have alcohol inks, that's what this takes. It takes alcohol inks. If you have those, this is a good solution. Especially considering that it's quick, which is helpful sometimes too. The rusting of metal, the actual process of rusting metal does take hours, but you make a big batch, you're all set for a long time. But anyway, let me show you how to do the quick method. And like I said, you do need, I'm going to bring this nasty old plastic up here. You do need alcohol inks. Now, I don't have orange, I don't have like a brown color that's similar to rust or anything like that, so I had to be creative and experiment a little bit. I'm using my dark espresso, and this is called Coral. So I didn't have any oranges, nothing, so nothing to help me out. So I'm gonna put a few drops of each one, and when I mix them together, that makes a rusty brownish color. So, and I maybe have too much coral in there, but we'll find out. The good thing about it is that you can go over the top. You can get a color on here, and if you don't like it, just add a different color and then re-rub it in. So I'm pretty happy with this so far. See, it makes a rust color. So I just kind of used my imagination what that might look like. And I think it's a pretty good combination. But whatever you have, experiment a little bit and see if you can get it to work. Maybe you've got a color that's exactly rust. I'm going to add just a little bit more, I think, and then give it another couple swooshes, and then I think this batch will be done. I think it's pretty much equal parts of the coral and the espresso. All right. And it's quite staining, so that's why I'm using gloves. Here, I'm gonna put this on this white paper so you can see it. All right. So there we have what I just did, and now they don't look grungy, because it's not real rust, but they look a little bit more vintage or a little bit more interesting than just the plain silver. I like this method. It's cool. I think the first batch I did and this batch, I think they turned out pretty well, so I'm happy with that. So these are probably dry. I mean, it might take a little bit more because there are some crevices in there and stuff. It might take a few minutes to dry, but they should be almost instantly dry because of the alcohol in there. Okay, the next way to actually rust is to use a solution to soak your metals in a solution. So the solution is 2 parts of white vinegar to 1 part of hydrogen peroxide, and then you add 2 or 3 teaspoons of salt. So the chemical reaction between the vinegar and the peroxide and the rusting power of salt works all together, and it corrodes the metal a little bit, and then it rusts it and it oxidizes. So you will put this in a glass jar, put your metal in the glass jar, put your 2 parts of this to 1 part of that, and your salt in the jar as well. Give it a little swirl, or with a plastic spoon or a fork or something, swish it around for just a few seconds, and then you can just leave it. So how long to leave it? And so this too, like if you have a big batch, I just experimented with a small batch because I hadn't done it for a long time. So I just experimented with a small batch. So I just had a 1/4 cup of white vinegar, and I had 1/8 of a cup of peroxide. And I did wind up using 2 teaspoons of salt. So mine was a very small batch, but you could do, you know, like 2 cups to 1 cup and that type of a thing. So let me show you what I've got here. So I soaked mine for 2 hours and then I checked it. So what I have here is a Tim Holtz chain and a binder clip, another one of those round charms, and an index clip. I can't remember what they're called, and then a ring, a silver ring. And I think they turned out great. The rusting is spotty. I don't know if you can see that. It's very spotty. Let me flip them over. I mean, look at that. It's so great. So I really like the way these turned out. I don't know why I didn't grab paper clips, but I didn't grab any paper clips. So I think these turned out great. So it's going to depend on what you want, what look you're going for. Excuse me. And so you can see there's a little bit of rust specks on there. I just thought I'd point that out because I soaked it for 4 hours, this one here. And instead of picking them all up, I might just hold this up. Okay, so that's 4 hours, and you can see they're quite a bit more rusty than than this side. So I'm not sure if you can see the comparison too well, but I'll just show you what this looks like so you know. All right, try to get the light on there. These index clips really, really rust well. So it's also going to depend on the metals that you have. I have no idea what some of this stuff is. I do know that these little gold safety pins are brass plated, but that's all I know. I don't really know what the rest of these alloys are, but I do know that we got some really great rust, and as you can see, it leaves a few more particles because the rust is got a, it's got a thicker coating. So that was super great. And I loved that. Let me set that aside. And then I have another batch that I left in overnight. And I don't see a huge difference between this batch and the one that was in for 4 hours. I really don't see much of a difference. So I think maybe these safety pins were a little more rusty. They're super cute. But so just check it. Just keep checking. I love the way this one turned out too. So keep checking your solution. Dip a plastic. Make sure you're using disposable type utensils to scoop out of your solution, and check your level of rusting and see if you like it. If you're still not happy, just leave it in overnight and then check it in the morning. I think eventually it will lose its effectiveness, so I would say overnight is probably the longest. Look at how well this one turned out. I'll put it right there. Look at all the rust on that. I love it. Those little, oh, here's a charm too. I really like the way that turned out too, but that one was stubborn, so I did need, after checking it, I did need it in there overnight. The bulb pins didn't do too well. I mean, they almost look the same as the alcohol ink. Anyway, super fun. I hope you give it a try. I also have a couple bonus things that I'd like to show you. So the solution is left over. You have rusty liquid, right? So I just stained some index cards. I did put a little green spray on here, and there's a little bit of green residue on there too. But I thought these turned out fun. And I put the cup on there. So I really enjoyed using it for that. But this was my favorite thing. Let me show you what this is. I rusted some fabric. So when I was first checking the metals, I took them out. I laid them on a paper towel, and then checked them, and then put them back in the solution. And what was left over on the paper towel, I'm like, I wonder how this would work on fabric if I just lay it on the fabric and just let it sit there. what's going to happen. And so my first batch was this one. I just left it. I totally left it. I mean, look at how cool these are. I totally left all the items just laying on the fabric. I had to make sure this fabric was resisting the liquid, and so I had a spray bottle full of the rusty liquid, and I sprayed that on top. So I laid this all down, sprayed more rust liquid on top, and let it dry. Of course, it took several hours because it was soaking wet. And then when I removed the paper clips and all the things, it came out like this. So I thought, well, wow, I'm gonna try to make a bigger piece. It didn't really work that well because there's a giant, line here, but it still looks cool. And I will use this. Believe me, I'm gonna use this for, I don't know what yet, but so this is my second batch. I did the same thing where I just laid everything down, sprayed more rusty liquid on top, and this is the effect I got. I did sprinkle some salt here to see what I would get there, and as you can see, the salt absorbed the liquid in spots. So super fun. Bonus. It's a bonus, right? I am so interested now in rusting fabric. I just love it. I just love it. So that might be something I'll be doing in the near future, but so that's a little extra thing there. I hope you enjoyed these 3 fun techniques, and you'll give them a try. I hope you do. Sometimes we get bored even with doing the same things over and over again. So it's fun to try new things and to put a rusty paper clip, attach an index card or something to a tag. I think it's really cool. So I hope you give it a try. We do have a Facebook group. We'd love to see your pictures. And you can find us on Instagram, and we have an Etsy shop. I'll leave all that information where you can find us down below, and we hope you'll join us for that. We do have a 5,000 subby giveaway coming up soon, so stay tuned for that as well. And we will catch you in the next video. Bye.